Well, hello there. Chef Kev D here. I've been told I need to have more energy because I'm sleepy tonight, but that's not true. I'm just trying to get into it a little bit. As you guys are logging on, we're going to have a little more fun, crack some wine, make some recipes, tell some stories from Burlington Wine and Food back in the day when it was just a baby to now it's what, 10, 11? This is supposed to be the 11th year?
Would have been the 11th.
So, KeyBank, Burlington Wine and Food have come together to do a fun virtual event. We couldn't host Burlington Wine and Food this year, one of my favorite events of all time, up in beautiful Burlington, Vermont, right on the water, so much wine, so much food, so much fun. But now we're going to bring it to you, right? So you guys just sit back, cook along if you want to cook along, drink along for sure. But I've been told I get funnier after wine. Is that true? I think that's true. So drink some wine. I'm going to bring on a guest. We're going to talk about wines. If you guys have any questions at all, please type them in the chat box. Our professional producer, Craig Orsini, is going to direct them to me. I'm going to answer you directly. Anything about food, wine, culinary TV, restaurants, anything you guys can think of, please feel free to ask because we'll answer all of them. Right? What do we got? We got some people logging on. We ready to start cooking? 17. All right, well, as we start our first dish here, I'm going to go over a few ingredients, and as the rest of you continue to log on, I'll go back over it so nobody will get left behind. We got some really fun products from some sponsors. We got Lake Champlain chocolates. We got Saratoga olive oil. We got some summer sausage. And, of course, we have wine from Vermont Wine Merchants, right, the one and only. We're here in Vinovation Studios in Sharon, Mass. I know most of you in Vermont, maybe one or two in Florida. So hi to the warm weather. Wish I was there because it's cold, really cold here. And then we're going to get right into it. Are we ready? Are you guys ready? I'm ready. All right, so again, big thanks to KeyBank and Burlington Wine and Food. We're going to start cooking, and I'm going to smile more. All right, so we're going to start with some blackberry jam, and we're going to just build a really fun charcuterie. Now, I'm just going to give you the basics with some really fun products from Vermont and some from here, but you guys can throw on anything extra you want, extra meats and cheeses and grapes and olives. Charcuterie is really just about a big board of fun food that you can eat and pick at with wine. But what I'm going to make is a blackberry jam that you can put on your charcuterie. That's a homemade jam. And we're going to start with a warm pan. And as I'm warming up the pan, I'm going to have you guys throw on a saucepan with the canola oil for your zeppelis, okay? Small saucepan, medium saucepan, about halfway full. Bring that up to about 340, which is about kind of a medium on your stovetop. It's going to take 5 or 10 minutes to warm up, so when we get to that portion, your oil will be hot and ready to go. So get that going. In the meantime, I'm going to take some of our Saratoga olive oil. This is the Tuscan style, clean and dry, right? Beautiful. I'm going to show you. Boom. And we're just going to warm that up a little bit. And we're going to start with a Granny Smith apple. Now, I use Granny Smith because it's a very tight apple. It's got lots of flavor. It's got a little sour, a little sweet, and it's going to stand up to the cooking process where your Cortlands or your Macs or some apples like that will turn into applesauce. That's not what we want. We're just going to caramelize them and get them a little cooked on the outside, and we're going to leave them nice and firm on the inside.
Hey, Chef, how big should you dice those? Does it matter if they're big and chunky or tiny? Does it matter?
So medium size, right? Because we're going to cook these down a little bit, and we want to keep the integrity of the apple. Again, we don't want to turn it to sauce, right? So we're going to pop it in our hot pan. And we're just going to caramelize that a little bit. All right, and we're going to cook that at a medium-high and let that cook for a few minutes. In the meantime, we have your Cabot cheddar, right? This is Vermont sharp cheddar, one of the best in the business. There's a chunk of it. And we're just going to cut it however you like to cut your cheese. I like it kind of thick. My wife likes it thin. Whatever you want, it's personal preference. We're going to do some fun kind of triangles so we can stand them up and put them on the plate. And we're going to start to build our charcuterie as our blackberry jam is cooking. And as we're cooking that, I want to tell you about our special guest tonight. Mike Stoles from Vermont Wine and Food, who I've known for a dozen years or so. We're going to bring him on. How you doing? Pound it.
Elbow.
Elbow. Great to see you as always.
Pleasure to share the stage with you, my friend.
Really quickly, I met Mike way back. I had a restaurant in Burlington called 156 Bistro. We were doing wine dinners before they were in vogue, farm-to-table food before it was a buzzword, right?
Exactly.
Way back when. Flashback, 11 years ago, I did the very first Burlington Food and Wine as 156 Bistro. We made some scallops. 10 years later, I made those scallops on the Today Show with Kathleen Hoda. That came a long way. And then I actually came back to Burlington Food and Wine to be one of the headlining chefs. And so we get to do fun stage demos, pair wines. The KeyBank VIP event is one of the best events of the weekend, right?
Of course.
So we're hoping that next year we can do it again bigger and better, but this year we're happy to bring it to your home. So as I'm making this blackberry jam, you have a wine for us that you want to talk
I picked
about.
a couple of wines
Okay.
for tonight's festivities.
All right, tell us about the first one.
So the first wine that we are going to show, believe it or not, is a South African bubbly. It's a Brut Rosé. And what people don't know about South African wines, particularly the bubblies, is that the soil is very limestone driven, exactly the same as champagne. So we are looking at an incredible value from South Africa, about half the price of traditional champagne. So let's get this baby open.
So you pop that and pour us a couple glasses, because we need to test it out with you guys, because you guys have the same wines at home, right? Everybody has the wines. So although we're not together, we're still drinking the same wines, we're cooking the same food, and we're having fun, because it's a festival, right?
Exactly.
All right, so our apples are nice and sauteed. We're going to take a pint of blackberries, which I've rinsed, and we're going to add it right in there. And we're going to
Chef,
cook
can you
that
use
down.
other berries?
Certainly.
I don't like blackberries.
I would say switch these out for blueberries if you don't like those. Raspberries work fine. Raspberries are a little more delicate, so you have to cook them a little quicker. Don't let them break down too much. But for this, since we're doing wine and cheese and meat, that blackberry,
There's that sound.
oh, sounds like a wine festival. So the blackberry is perfect for what we're doing, because it stands up to the wine, it stands up to the cheese, stands up to that Granny Smith apple, and then some beautiful summer sausage, which we have sponsored tonight. And we're just gonna, what we're doing is we're just building it. Now you can build your charcuterie however you like, on a cutting board, on a cool plate. You know, it's an art form, right? It's personal preference how you like it to look.
For you, my
here we
friend.
go. Cheers.
Cheers. A few other tidbits about the wine. It is the traditional blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And I am a huge fan of bubblies in general. I think they pair with everything, and something like our charcuterie plate, the acidity with the sausage, the flavor profile with the blackberries. I think things are looking pretty good right now.
I think so. And I'm actually going to take just a little bit of the bubbly, and I'm going to deglaze the pan with it, because it's going to tie in what we're drinking and what we're eating. And we're going to saute that up. We're going to take a little bit of our Saratoga balsamic, and we're going to hit that right in the pan.
Another big supporter of the Burlington.
Yes,
Wine
yes,
Festival.
and a great product. I don't work with anything that I don't like. Just because they're sponsors, I have to like it and have used it before, and I've used this before, and I love it.
That goes for people too. Right?
Exactly, and
God
wine.
you like us.
And wine, thank God. So we're cooking this down. We got the wine, we got the balsamic, we got the blackberries, we got the apples, which are perfect medium. We're going to take just a pinch of sugar, a couple pinches, and we're going to kind of bring all those flavors together.
Chef, if you don't want to use sugar like that out of a bag, is there alternatives to sugar to make it that sweetness?
Absolutely. Agave, honey, anything like that you can use as your sweetener instead of sugar. I use the sugar because it helps thicken it up and bind it all together and make a nice jam. But feel free to use whatever sweetener you like.
Agave seems to be becoming fairly popular.
Very in vogue
As a
right now.
substitute.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have our summer sausage. We have our Cabot sharp cheddar. We have our blackberry jam going. I got a few toast points. You can use them. You can use crackers, whatever you have at home. And we're just going to kind of arrange them in a fun way. And this is going to be, you know, you could, with the holidays coming up, this is a perfect thing because, let's face it, we're going to be having smaller parties than we normally do. So we want to do it a little more fun, a little more festive. Maybe get some wines that you wouldn't normally get. Maybe do some fun sides and charcuteries that you wouldn't normally do because you're worried about 20 people coming to your house. Well, now you might be doing it with 5, right? So let's try to elevate it and have fun with it, because that's all we can do, right? Because that's why we're here. So we got cheese, we got sausage, we got some fresh blueberries. You guys can use some of the blackberries. We're just gonna go around our charcuterie like that.
Are you getting some of the berry flavor out of the
Yeah,
bubbly?
that's perfect. I picked up on that. And let's see, we are going to, so there's a couple ways you can do this. Since I love Burlington Wine and Food and KeyBank so much, I'm gonna give you guys a bonus dish right now, okay? This dish right here, and we'll get a saute pan. You guys don't have to cook this. It wasn't on your ingredient list. This is just something that I want to show you that you guys can do while you're stuck at home. There might be another quarantine again.
You never know.
What I've found is that a lot of people realize that they can't really cook at all. They have those one or two go-tos, right? And then they say, what do? We get takeout. So here's a fun one that you can do. Take some of our Tuscan olive oil from Saratoga, and we get a hot pan. And what I have here is some fresh pork loins, okay? Take a little bit of salt and pepper. Both sides, important to aggressively season.
This is a nice bonus.
This is, yeah. I just wanted to show you another application of the blackberry jam. While we're here, we're all hanging out. Let's face it, you guys aren't going anywhere, right? Right? So hot pan, you hear that sizzle, get that salt and pepper.
Chef, what do you mean by aggressively seasoned?
So I always salt and pepper a little more than you think you should, because you lose a lot of it in translation. Some of it stays on the plate. You lose some in the pan. If you're grilling, a lot tends to fall off in the grill. So you want to get a nice coating of a salt and pepper on both sides. And you want to build a nice caramelized crust. So you see how that's starting to come together and get jammy? That's what we want. Another pinch of sugar.
You're running both of these at medium heat, you said?
This is a medium-high, so if you have an induction, it's about a 7. If you have a flame, it's kind of a medium-high flame. Not too hot, because we don't want to burn the outside and keep the inside raw. We want to just get a nice sear on both sides and then finish cooking it in the pan. And your internal temperature, 165, for those of you who eat pork. That's the perfect temperature, a nice medium piece of pork that you want to cook at home.
So that's breaking down nice.
Yeah, you see the berries are starting to break down. Your apples are still keeping their form, but they're getting soft and caramelized. And then our pork is almost done.
Hey Chef, what's one of the funniest reactions you've had to any of your foods that you've had to give people a taste to?
Oh, well, I can tell you a story since I brought up the Today Show and the scallops that I made at Burlington Food and Wine and on the Today Show. I was doing another event with Kathy Lee. She has a Prosecco, right? So I did a wine dinner with her where I had a big stage demo, and I was doing an oyster with a gazpacho shooter and all this cool, fun stuff. She came up to me right before and said, I've never had an oyster in my life. My husband Frank tried to get me to eat them for 50 years, never tried one, never will. For you, I'm going to try one, okay?
You carry a lot of weight.
So this is a lot of pressure on me, right? So I had the beautiful oyster shucked with the gazpacho shooter. Kathy Lee and I are up stage, 500 people in the crowd. She comes up, takes the oyster shooter, throws the shell on the ground, grabs her stomach, runs off stage. And I was like, holy shit, pardon my French, I just killed Kathy Lee in front of 500 people. My career is over. She came back 10 seconds later and was like, I was just kidding, it was great, blah, 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 blah. My stomach literally dropped and I was a little scared. So that was
love that sense of humor.
Yeah. Whew, whew. I'm usually the one cracking the jokes. So I need a drink after that. I tell you. Something like that goes viral, and I won't be cooking on any boats or in anybody's homes after that happens.
You're always welcome in our home, my friend.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So for our bonus pork loin, you see right there, caramelization, golden brown, getting a nice sear on that, because we want to cook that to a nice medium.
Somebody's getting hungry.
Yes, so in the meantime, with this jam for the charcuterie, if you'd like, you can pop it in the fridge and just chill it for about 10 minutes, which I've done ahead of time. You can serve it warm, totally up to you. For charcuterie, it's always nice to serve it kind of cool. So I've cooled this down a little, and we're just gonna go right. That's a perfect jam.
Yep.
And now you can use this at brunch, on your bagels, with your toast. Kids love it on toast. We've cooked off most of the alcohol, so you don't have to worry about that. We're also going to take a little bit of our Saratoga Tuscan olive oil and go right over our toast. So give that a nice little bit of flavor. Right? And we have some pepitas here. These are fresh baked pumpkin seeds, which I'm just going to take a little salt and pepper. That's it. Just go around our plate like that. Now again, charcuterie is open to interpretation. You guys can put whatever you want on here. Any kind of garnish, olives, more sausage, salami, prosciutto, any kind of fruit, some more blueberries. But this is kind of our first dish right here.
So simple and a beautiful
So simple, right?
presentation. Look at that.
And it goes good with what? Wine.
Cheers.
Exactly. So that's your first application on the blackberry jam that I've chilled. So you're going to get the sausage, the cheese, the olive oil, the pepitas, the blueberries, and you're going to get the tartness from the Granny Smiths, a little bit of balsamic from Saratoga, the sweetness and the tartness from the apples, and there's a little bit of sugar. So although this is very simple, there's a lot of flavors going on here, right?
You know, and again, a wine like a Brut Rosé, it's got acidity, it's got the fruit flavors going. Perfect combination for everything that's happening on that platter.
So chef, going back to that pork dish that you're cooking those chops.
Yes.
Are there alternatives to pork or other cuts or bone-in options? What are some other options for people who may not even like the pork?
So if you want to stick with pork and you want to do a chop on the bone, I suggest you sear it like this, finish it in the oven. Anything with the bone takes a little longer to get that heat through the bone and generated. So you could do that. This jam also goes really well with lamb. You guys are in Vermont, so venison. Mm-hmm. This is perfect with venison, right? As far as a fish, if you wanted to do this with like a swordfish, even potentially like a salmon, I'd stay away from your whitefish because this is pretty pungent, potent. It'll turn your fish red. It may not look as appetizing, so it's going to be a steak like a swordfish or a salmon as opposed to a flaky whitefish.
What about any type of a shellfish? Would it go well with anything?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. You could do shrimp with this. You could do just a little bit on an oyster, cold, but it's a nice kind of shooter. And so it looks like we got a medium piece going right here. Just gonna pull this off the heat and let it rest. Get rid of this hot pan. So again, just a bonus dish. I just wanted to show you guys a different application. While we're all here, while I have you sitting at home, I wanted to show you this extra little chef tip. So we're gonna let our pork rest for a minute or two. We don't want to cut it right away. We're going to lose all those juices on the cutting board. That's not what we want. We want to taste that flavor, right? So I have a little bit of arugula here we can use that I've just tossed in a little bit of the olive oil. Now you can do any kind of starch that you want. You could do a risotto, roasted potato, whipped potato, butternut squash, any kind of fun side to build this as a dish. And then we're just going to slice our piece of pork. And kind of fan it out a little bit on our plate, and that's a perfect medium. And also, since we're using our jam hot right now, it's going to continue to carry over a little bit. And that's about a 165 internal temperature. That's going to make sure that your pork is cooked through.
I think you mentioned earlier, too, that it's better to let the pork sit a little bit.
Yeah, just let it rest for a minute or two,
Yeah.
and so that releases, you don't want to release the juices too early. You want them to stay in there. You can even put a little on your greens, a little bit like that. And then we have, of course, some fun microgreens. And then you have a couple different applications of the same jam in one with this great wine. What do you think?
Two courses already. Beautiful.
Any questions from the audience yet? There's 40 of you watching. Some of you have to have questions. You're all pros. You're all doing good. No questions on the wine.
You know, so chef, one of the big questions people always ask about cooking pork. Do you need to cook it all the way through? You said 165, but you know, I like it medium rare like that. What about other people wanting it more done? Does it have to be well done like a hockey puck anymore?
Does not. As long as you get it up to 165, you're good to go. If you like it cooked a little more, I suggest you pop it in the oven at 350 for a couple minutes to just finish it off and get it up to a medium well. But a 2-inch piece of loin like that in a pan, you just saw me, I cooked it in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Sear both sides, finish it off, and then it's going to get your carryover from that hot jam. Right?
Beautiful thing.
We're good? No questions? You guys are good? And then I really want you guys to send some pictures of the finished dishes because I know you have all the ingredients. So you can send them to chefkevd.com or Vermont Wine Merchants, right? Because we'll post them on social media. If you have some fun dishes, we love to see how the clients' dishes came out.
Or Burlington Wine and Food Festival.
Burlington, any of those, please, because we're gonna cross promote. We're gonna blast them out. We're gonna have fun with this because, listen, this is our festival. We're doing it right now. You guys are doing it at home. So,
And thank you all for joining us tonight, by the way.
of course. And huge thanks to KeyBank, as always, one of the major sponsors, right?
Of course.
Cheers to that first dish.
And it was nice meeting a lot of you on the delivery schedules that we did the other day.
Well, they
I
had
saw a
to,
lot of Vermont I didn't know was out there.
they had to be happy to see you guys if they're stuck at home and you're bringing baskets of wine and cheese and sausage and all kinds of
Delivery,
stuff
we
like
got a
that.
smile, believe it or not.
So Mike, what about, how to choose the right wine to pair with the right dish? What's the idea behind food and wine pairings for
Wine
you?
and food pairing is it's an interesting thing. It's either opposites attract, such as sweet wines with some of the Asian foods that are super spicy, Rieslings and Gewürztraminers, because they have a level of sweetness that kind of offsets the heat. Heat and sweet, basically, is a perfect analogy for pairing. Again, if you're looking for pairing ideas for, let's say, a nice big steak, you want something that's robust and full, like a big Cabernet, or you can take the other tact of something like from Italy, Barolo or Barbaresco, because of the level of acidity, it cuts through the fat. So that's, a lot of it is, I hate to say this, it's a bit of a crapshoot, because you can certainly ruin a meal. You do not want to drink a big oaky Chardonnay with a steak.
Right.
It's just going to destroy the wine and, well, sadly, the steak.
And it's just like food. It's
So-
personal preference, right?
Personal preference.
A lot of that
That's
is
what makes
personal.
it tough.
It's just like food. You have certain flavors you know you don't like. You have certain varietals that you know you do like, and just kind of pick and choose what goes with what and bring it all
Experiment
together.
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's and you'll find out pretty soon if you hit on something that's not going to work. I mean, a Cabernet and or a Chardonnay and blue cheese, for example, is fairly horrific.
So what to stay away from, just like those flavors in food that you know you don't like. If you have an aversion to cilantro or certain things like that, stay away from it. Stick with what you like. Branch out a little bit and do the research. Vermont Wine Merchants has a lot of stuff on their website and in the shop of what goes with what and the flavor notes and all that. Just like Vinovations does, you can find a lot of really good information out there.
Well, the beauty of the Burlington Wine and Food Festival, which is why we were so disappointed we couldn't do it this year, is I always tell people, I'm a Cabernet drinker. Okay, here's one day, maybe don't drink Cabernet. Try the variety of reds that we have out there.
Right.
We're going to have 30 or 35 other red varietals there. It's a great time to expand your horizons. You're there, try things that you're not familiar with. And same with whites if you're a big Chardonnay drinker. Try a Viognier, try a Vermentino, try all the different varietals that we offer there. I think that's what makes the festival so much fun. It's, you can go to the seminars and you can learn, or you can just walk around and talk to the people behind the tables and try different varietals, and that's your education, trying the products.
And you try stuff that you normally wouldn't try.
Exactly.
And when you go back to that, you say, oh, I had that. I really like that at Burlington Wine and Food. Reach out to Mike and you guys can get a case of it for the next lockdown. On that note, I'm going to have you slide down
Yes,
a bit.
sir.
So Chef, while you're getting ready to move on there and you're moving things around, there's a question about, somebody doesn't like pork, they want chicken. How about chicken with that dish?
100%, I would say a skin-on Statler chicken breast would stand up nicely to this dish. Sear that crispy skin, flip it over, sear it on the other side with salt and pepper, pop it in the oven. Again, 165, and slice it up just like this. Blackberry jam, arugula, or risotto, or herb roasted potatoes, but chicken, it's a perfect dish for chicken. And so from there, we're going to go to our zeppoli, okay? This is a perfect dessert for the holidays. You can make this Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, a lot of different flavors that you can do with this. You got your pot of oil that's going. It's about 340. It's nice and warm. If you don't have a thermometer, you can try a couple and get it just to that perfect temperature without temping it. But we're
What
gonna.
kind of oil, Chef?
This is canola oil, and we use canola oil because it has a higher burning point, which means you can crank it up and get it really hot, and it's not going to smoke you out, and it's not going to set off the fire alarms, and you'll be good to go. If you were to do a pot of extra virgin olive oil, it would smoke the whole place out. Water, dust, you're done for the night, game over. Canola oil or vegetable oil or even grapeseed oil works really well. So they're the lighter, thinner oils that have a higher burning point. So we're going to take a mixing bowl, okay? Our zeppoli, a fancy word for Italian donut, okay? So we have a couple eggs here, farm fresh because you're from Vermont, right? Two eggs. We're going to whisk that up. And we are going to add in our vanilla extract. Little vanilla extract, couple drops. So you guys have the ingredient list at home. And then our sugar, and that's going to dissolve in this liquid mixture. And then we're going to add our dry ingredients. So we're going to whisk that all together till that's combined. Then we're going to add our flour. And we are just going to take a rubber spatula and kind of fold that in. We're making a batter, right? Almost like a dough. So you want to think of a pizza dough. So we have our sugar, vanilla extract, eggs, all-purpose flour. And then we're going to fold in our secret ingredient. Not a secret to you because you guys have all the ingredients listed at home, but a lot of people wouldn't know to use this in a donut batter. We're going to use some fresh ricotta cheese. And the reason we use that is because it makes your donut light and airy as opposed to a dense, like thick bagel situation, which you don't want. You want a nice fluffy donut. And what we want to do is we're just folding that in because we don't want to break down the integrity of that cheese. We want that to keep its integrity and not break down. So we just kind of want to mix it until it's all about the same color. And we're just kind of folding it and folding it. We're not using a mixer or a whisk. We're just folding it together until it's a nice tight dough. And we get all that dry flour off there.
Chef, what's one of your favorite sweets?
My favorite sweets? Well, we're going to use it to finish our plate today, but we have a beautiful Lake Champlain chocolate, and we're using their golden spice bar today, and we're going to shave some of that over the top of our zeppoli. And I had Tracy and Mike brought me one of the baskets that you guys have, and I ate one of the bars already. So what does that tell you?
So you're saying it's chocolate?
So I'm saying it's chocolate. 70% cocoa, and it's a golden spice, so it's got some flavor to it, which is why I wanted to use it for this, as opposed to a milk chocolate or dark chocolate. It's got that little kick of flavor. So we have our oil that's hot. We have our batter that's nice and tight, and we're going to have our ice cream scoop, which is a 1 ounce scoop, okay? And we're just going to drop these into our hot oil and fry up some donuts. And while I'm doing that, we have another wine with this.
Believe it or not, we do.
Bring Mike back on. A lot of wine tonight. It is a wine festival, right? So you can fit 10 in there at a time on a pot like that. We're going to get them to nice golden brown. We're going to pull them out with a slotted spoon, and Mike's going to tell us about the next wine. What do we got?
Okay, we went to California, and I'm sure everybody's heard of Zinfandel. Not everybody has heard of Amador County, which is in the Sierra foothills below Tahoe. The Zinfandel grape, you've probably all tried them from Napa or Sonoma. The original Zinfandel actually came out of Amador County and El Dorado County. The oldest vineyards in California are there. They're there from the gold rush days. So the winery we have today is Easton. They are one of the originators. I mean, he started what they call the Rhone Rangers, which was a group put together of people that were making wine with varietals from France. So he also has, the other division of his company is called Domaine Tête Rouge, which is his French varietals. Easton wines are his domestic varietals, Zinfandel, Cabernet, and Sauvignon Blanc. There's a whole different flavor profile here. It's all from volcanic soil, and he does something, it's a fancy word, it's called élevage, which basically means he holds his wines back. He keeps them in bottle for a number of years. So when they are released, they are ready to go. The Zinfandel is very, very fruit forward, and I thought this, with the chocolate end of the donuts, would hopefully rock everybody's world.
I think so.
So I'm going to give Kevin and I a little bit right now just to see.
2 glasses right there. You guys are popping the same bottle, pouring the same glass, and enjoying the same wine. In the meantime, what I did is I pulled these out. I have a slotted spoon, right, in a paper towel lined pan here. And what that does is that takes all the excess oil off there. We don't want an oily donut. So we're going to let those dry a little bit on that. And we're just going to let those rest for a minute. And we're going to have a wine. I'm going to see how we did.
Here we go.
Oh, that's nice. Wow.
So Mike,
It's
is
got a big,
Zinfandel-
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mike, is Zinfandel an older grape?
Zinfandel is extremely old. These vines are from the 1900s.
I'd say
Some of
that's
them
old.
have been regrafted, but this guy works with vines that are 80 and 90 years old.
So what I've done here is I have a little cinnamon and sugar mixture, and we're just going to roll them in here. You could just use straight sugar, add a little cinnamon if you don't want to. And we're going to use the Lake Champlain chocolate as a topping for this, but you can use raspberry preserves, strawberry preserves. You can use salted caramel, milk chocolate that you melted and put in a squeeze bottle, and you can actually fill these up with a little squeeze bottle. But for tonight, we're just going to take our nice donuts, which we've shaken off all the grease, and we're just going to roll them in that cinnamon and sugar mixture, okay? And we're going to take a plate. And I have some Nutella here. You don't have to use this at home, but this is just a little trick that we can...
Jeff, tell us a little bit about Nutella, what it is.
So this is a hazelnut flavored chocolate, and we're just going to take a schmear like this, and what that's going to do is just act as a landing pad for our Zeppoli. Okay? We have that. And we have our Lake Champlain Golden Spice chocolate, and we're just going to go right over the top with that.
Mike, while he's doing that, is there a difference between choosing a white or a red for dessert? Does it matter? Or is it just personal preference?
Well, you know, it's funny. There's such variety in the wine world. There's a wine, Moscato d'Asti, for example, from Italy, which is a white wine. It's got a level of sweetness, lots of peach flavor. A lot of the Italian restaurants will serve that as a dessert wine with maybe a biscotti or something like that. But it really doesn't matter. There's ice wines that can be made out of both.
Perfect. So here we go. What do you think of that? How quick was this? We put some berries on there. You could use strawberries. Again, salted caramel, little whipped cream. You could put a little orange zest. One of my favorite holiday flavors is chocolate and orange together. So a little bit of orange zest on top of that cream would be nice. Blueberries, strawberries. Some of the blackberries that we used in the jam could go perfect on that with our Lake Champlain chocolate.
You got a floater?
Where? Oh, that one's for you. That one's for later. So I know that you guys have some questions, right?
And any feedback on the wine, we'd love to hear it.
Love
wine
the wine.
and food.
Yeah, there's a question about what you were using to just shave that,
This-
that chocolate.
This is a microplaner, but you could also use, if everybody has a cheese grater in their drawer, just use the small side so you don't get too big of a chunks, and it shaves it down and kind of coats your plate.
I do hope that on the Zinfandel, there's white Zinfandel out there. A lot of people actually, up till about 5 or 10 years ago, weren't familiar with the red Zinfandel. Different animals.
Much different. You want to try one of these?
I would
Please do.
go
Grab
in.
one. Yeah, go ahead. A little bit of the chocolate, a little bit of the whipped cream. Now that's Italian. Not too sweet, not doughy. The ricotta cheese makes it nice and light, not too dense.
So does that bring you back to any flavors back in your life? Like I have certain memories of growing up in my Italian deli heritage of certain things. we ate a lot of cannoli. Zeppeli is different. What do you think about, does that bring back some memories, Chef?
Yes, this brings back memories. I have an Italian grandmother who I actually learned to cook with. We did the Sunday gravy together. She'd always do fried pepperoni bread, fried zeppoli, while she has that pot going. And this brings me right back to the holidays when I was 9 years old.
Mike is doing a double dip.
My
with the
double dip.
Nutella and the whipped cream.
I am a rebel.
That is, he's gonna break all the rules. So Thanksgiving is coming up, Chef. You got any tips for us? What are you cooking for Thanksgiving? Any specialties?
I'm very traditional, and I love very simple food when I eat at home. So we're doing the turkey, we're doing the stuffing, mashed potato gravy.
Sausage in your stuffing, or no?
Not because I have the kids, or I would.
Okay.
They're 3 and 4. They won't touch it with sausage.
Fair enough.
But on my own, I definitely would. We had a debate, and I'm going to ask you the same thing: cranberry sauce, straight gel, or berries?
I gotta go berries.
He goes berries. I go both. I like a little bit of gel, a little bit of berries. Mix it up. I like the different textures, but I love cranberry sauce on Thanksgiving. I like to mix it up a little bit. Why not? You only live once.
So as long as we're talking about getting crazy, what's the craziest thing you could put with the Zeppelis? Could you put like ice cream or cannoli cream? What would be
Gelato, cannoli cream, whipped cream, Cool Whip, like we did Nutella, salted caramel, any kind of sweet sauce, strawberry coulis. I do one with strawberries and blueberries and Grand Marnier, which you saute down with a little bit of sugar, and you get that orange flavor and the chocolate. So we could do that with a biscuit as well, but also would go well with the Zeppeli.
A little Grand Marnier after the meal.
Both. You have a little to sip, a little to eat, a little wine. You see how it all comes together.
Exactly.
Right?
If I could throw out a little, you mentioned Thanksgiving, some wine suggestions for Thanksgiving.
Which people need.
I am a huge fan of the lighter reds, things like Grenache, for example, or Pinot Noir, Sangiovese, Chianti, an unoaked Barbera would be some of my suggestions for the holiday.
Perfect.
What about a dessert wine? Like, do you even after dessert wine, is it a port to finish? What kind of recommendations can you finish to tell us to finish with?
Well, I think you led with the top one, a nice port. You
Love a
cannot
good
go
port,
wrong with.
yeah.
Although there are some red dessert wines. There's I'm trying to think of a Brichetto, for example, which is a red. It's the red version of Moscato, but its flavor profile is more berry driven, as opposed to the Moscato, which is going to be citrus. So the Brichetto as a dessert wine, I think, would be a great suggestion after the holiday. It's not heavy. It's got high acidity. It's slightly frizzant, so it's a great cleanser.
So I have a question. I'm a big festive kind of guy. I love to pop a bottle of bubbly after the Thanksgiving, do a toast with my brothers, with my family. Probably do it virtually this year, where we all have the same bottle and pop it. I know we did one bottle of bubbles here. Do you have a favorite champagne, a Prosecco, or a sparkling wine for something like that?
Right now, I think, value standpoint, we have a cava
Oh, perfect.
called Mestris, M-E-S-T-R-E-S.
Perfect.
It's Mestris 1312, and what this particular winery does is age their cavas for about 18 months, where most of them are about 9. So you get a much better mousse. And it just, like I said, it's one of those, a little bit of yeastiness. So again, it's in that champagne vein as far as flavor profile and everything.
Perfect.
Price, a little better.
Cheaper, right?
Better, yeah.
So you can have a couple bottles, a couple toasts.
Exactly.
You're going to be sitting home for a few days on Thanksgiving weekend. You're going to need 3 or 4 bottles,
I would like to think so.
For sure. So again, any questions you guys have about food, wine? I always get what's it like to work with Gordon Ramsay, Bobby Flay, Paula Deen, blah, blah, blah. Anything you guys want to ask, please do it now, and we will answer any questions you have. If not, I mean, a huge thank you to KeyBank, Burlington Wine and Food. All things go well, we will be back bigger and better next year.
In a perfect world, yes.
I will be personally cooking at the KeyBank VIP party this year, and we're going to have a blast. And we're going to be on the water for Burlington Wine and Food. I'd like to thank Lake Champlain Chocolates, Saratoga Olive Oil, of course KeyBank, everybody else that the Vermont smoked cured sausage, and Mike and Tracy, obviously from Vermont Wine Merchants, the brainchild behind Burlington Wine and Food. Great event. Can't wait to do it next year. For Mike Stoles from Vermont Wine Merchants, Chef Kevdi, I thank you guys for having us in your home.
Let's have another donut.